Welcome to today's episode of Direct Mail Automation School, the podcast for marketers who are looking for an edge as they deploy direct mail and omnichannel marketing campaigns. My name is Dennis Kelly. I'm the CEO of Postalytics, the leading direct mail automation platform designed for marketers to deploy automated direct mail and omnichannel marketing campaigns with the speed, integration, and analytics of digital marketing. Today, we're super excited to have a great guest, Bruce McMeekin. Bruce is the CEO and founder of BKM Marketing, an Inc. 5000 omnichannel marketing agency focused on delivering turnkey, results-driven marketing programs for banks and other results-driven B2B and B2C clients. Bruce and his BKM Marketing colleagues assemble high-caliber project teams of seasoned creatives, data analysts, digital and print production experts that help clients get to market effectively and efficiently. BKM also runs a specialty bank merger marketing practice and has executed over 50 mergers and conversions. Bruce is also a member of the Forbes Agency Council, has been heavily involved in the New England Direct Marketing Association, and has a passion for sustainable marketing that we'll dive into today. Welcome, Bruce. We're psyched to have you on.
Well, I'm psyched to be here. This is a topic that's we're both very excited about. So it's nice to we're recording one of these conversations.
Exactly. We have enough of them offline, right?
We do. We do. So
awesome.
I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. Well, before we dive into the details of omnichannel marketing, I'd love to hear you tell our audience a little bit about how you got here. What's the Bruce McMeekin omnichannel marketing origin story, and what led to you founding BKM, and tell us about how things have evolved over time.
Sounds good. It's not like I think I popped out of my mom and they said, boy, this person's going to be a marketer. But it kind of felt like that to me. I was just sort of born feeling like I was, when you get right down to it, marketing is all about solving needs and filling the gap between something that needs to be done and folks that know how to do it. So, ended up going to a liberal arts school, and closest thing they had to learning about marketing was something called economics. And so me and 1,000 other ec majors, learned a lot about how business works. And after college, went to a company that's pretty well known for its marketing. It's called Procter & Gamble. And I spent 2 years there, and I was in the food division. And people need to eat. They absolutely do. So that was pretty clear. We had the need piece down. But Procter & Gamble, a fantastic company, in the food division, it was really about lard. The obvious lard product, the king of all lard products is Crisco. It comes in different forms. It came in an oil. It came in sort of this paste. It came with all sorts of things. And then it got translated into cookies. It got put into Duncan Hines type products, and this solid lard form that looks a lot like Pringles, and actually it was Pringles. And these are products that are very successful, put out by a company that really knows how to do its research, and so I learned a ton there. But the other thing that was interesting, everything cost $1.49. This is back. I'm dating myself by that cost, but our job was to convince the trade that sold all the lard products that $1.49 was the right price. And we could do a coupon and make actually be back then a 20-cent coupon was a big deal. And so I thought maybe I would do something with my life that didn't cost $1.49. Moving on, so went back to business school, to a school that actually was very well known for marketing in Chicago, Kellogg School, and learned a lot about the real mechanics of it. So really just sort of fell in love with it. Trying to keep this short. I've been alive a long time, so I could talk a long time about my life. But coming out of business school, I went into banking. And since I had product management in my background, I got kind of put in that funnel. Ultimately, this leads to direct mail. And I started in New York and then ended up working for a Traveler subsidiary here, which was a bank, one of the first branchless banks in the country that was marketing credit cards and trying to create earnings for the travelers, and we did. And that was all about segmentation. We pioneered a credit card that was aimed exclusively at women, taking the same benefits that are on most credit cards and just changing them so they would be perceived in a way that satisfied the needs of women. We had a lot of cards for affinity groups, also very targeted. The only one we didn't get, I think, was the Loyal Order of Water Buffaloes, and that would be the Fred and Barney Club. But we had a lot of fire affinity groups and things like that. But after a while, I decided, it's going to be more fun spending time working for a variety of different clients. So I jumped to a strategic marketing consulting firm and ran the financial services practice for them for 6 years, and really, fine-tuned direct marketing even more there, to the point where I ended up getting hired by a conglomerate of 23 different marketing services firms, mostly in the telemarketing space. I was responsible for an agency in Braintree, Massachusetts, and Poway, California. And so we had creatives and list people and strategists and all sorts of fun stuff, doing all sorts of great work. We were doing such great work that they forgot about us in the conglomerate. And when a recession came, they said, "Geez, I don't know what these people are doing, but I guess we don't really need them if I don't know." This was the management of the team. So they shuttered the practice and didn't realize they had several $100,000 worth of strategic creative work that needed to be done. So I went to, we're both south of Boston, so there's this town called Cohasset. They have a town hall, and there was a branding expert at the town hall because I wanted to form a company until I found a job. And she said, "Some people use their initials." So I said, "It's absolutely brilliant. We'll do this out." So the company became BKM Marketing Associates, Inc. That was 20 years ago. So we've outlived our 2-month business plan.
That's great. That's great. And so you had a couple $100,000 of strategic creative business that you walked right into. You filled a need, just like you said.
Filled the need. Fortunately, had other clients. A lot in the financial services space from my times there. So, about a year into it, it became apparent that this actually is going to be a company. So, made a strategic hire, a guy who's still with me, Sam Rico. You've had the chance to meet him. He is a guy who knows direct mail better than I would put him up against you, Dennis.
I would not put myself up against Sam Rico. I can tell you that.
Well, no, he knows every little detail, and if you need to know a postal reg, that's in his brain.
So, he's often my first outreach when I have a question. So he is the man knows more about direct mail, print production, and the channel than anybody I've ever met, for sure.
Yes. So we've put some great account people around him, and at any rate, when we were getting started, there's a saying in banking that all money is green. There's a saying if you own an agency, all money is green. So we would actually get involved with all sorts of different types of programs, and everything from we had Ritz-Carlton for 6 years, their destination club, which was really fun, high end, really pushing the production envelope. We had a bunch of tech companies, but we still had a lot of banks, and of course, another staple for us is lawn services. Nowadays, we really much focus on lawn services and banking. Everyone asks the question, well, those have absolutely nothing in common. It's like, well, have you ever been to a suburban bank branch that didn't have a lawn? There you go. But it doesn't work in the city. Urban areas, that joke doesn't work. So,
well, that's great. You've got the entire facility covered. That's phenomenal.
we do the green on the inside and the green outside. But,
exactly. Well, your background. That's right. You've got a lot of ways you could slice this green angle. And we're going to get into that green angle some more. So, but your background makes then perfect sense as to, how you've developed such a kind of a great practice around banking. You're a marketer who has an economics background and an MBA, and you've done a heck of a lot of work in the banking sector. So that makes perfect sense. And it seems like, you're mentioning you've got the lawn care and other types of clients. As you said, at the surface level, you would think there's not a lot of consistency between these two things. How can you do them well? But there has to be some fundamentals there, right? That are applicable across your B2B and B2C clients that are not in banking. Can you dive into that a little bit? Let's talk about some of those fundamentals that transcend the vertical.
That's a really good question. I think we talked a few minutes ago about needing to solve for a need in the marketplace. I mean that's basically what we help clients do, and so there's a couple of styles of marketing. One is truly need focused, and then let's just figure out what color the pool water should be. Should it be blue or pink or whatever, and solve for that. And there's other companies out there that say we've got this fantastic gizmo, and it can actually make your pool water any color you want simply by putting electrodes in that change the color of the hydrogen and oxygen together. Do people need that? I don't know. So there's this push and pull. So I think if you're solving for a need, it's much better to get people, especially in a search-oriented marketing world now, where it says, "Geez, I have something in my tooth. I need dental floss." They can find it, and Amazon will have it there for you in 4 hours. That's solving a need. So that's thing one that I think every business has in common. You need to solve for that, and that's kind of how we position things. The other thing I'd say that's a universal truth is once you have this need, we have this mantra called getting the right message to the right person at the right time. And yes, I'm very biased towards direct marketing. Sometimes the right time is when someone's absolutely looking for something. And, thank God we had Al Gore solve for that by inventing the internet.
That's right.
But other times you need to create demand. And I think, especially in the financial services business where we're dealing with a commodity. Banking is a complete and total commodity. Folks need to make transactions. They'd like to get rewarded somehow for keeping a deposit. They don't want to overpay in interest. And so very quickly, the way to lose in the financial services marketing game is to just compete on price. Marketing makes the difference. It really does. It creates this illusion that there's more to it. And if you look at some of the great marketers out there, I'm a huge fan of how Chase has positioned itself. Multiple brands, serving multiple needs. They've really done a great job with data. They have such a huge share of the credit card market. They actually understand people's behaviors, and they use that to grow their business strategically around the world. It's incredible. So what's the right message, right person, right time? List is absolutely everything. If you don't do your homework on data, then don't care what industry you're in, you've got to make that happen. Have to use an offer that gets someone's attention. I'll never forget sitting in a San Francisco office of an international delivery company, and they said, we just did all this direct mail, and we had our branding agency do it, and we 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 didn't really see any lift in business. So they showed a few pieces of this thing to me, and there was no offer. But worse yet, they didn't ask the recipient to do anything. There was no phone number. There was no URL. It was a complete brand agency. We're getting our brand message out. We're using the mail. And they said, "Oh." But that happens. That happens a lot. You really need to have an offer. Creative is absolutely important, and I'll tell you that the international delivery company had a very well-known brand and really nice creative. I mean, the postcards were very captivating. The self-mail are very captivating, but it had like one key message. That's a big piece of creative. Usually, that's one key message is the offer. But the last piece of right message, right person, right time. Use channels that your customers and targets actually use. We've run into a lot of instances where the CEO of a financial institution or any company says, "I want to be in the Wall Street Journal." Okay. How many of your customers actually read the Wall Street Journal? We don't know, but that's where we're putting it. So, sort of common sense things across every end. But I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah.
Solve for a need, put the right message to the right person.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And on the flip side, there must be some things that are very particular to banking and financial services that have allowed you to kind of build this specialty practice, particularly in the mergers and acquisitions area. So, what are some of the things that are maybe a little bit different about that part of your business compared to your more general B2B and B2C marketing?
Sure. Well, there's a few things that distinguish, banking from a lot of other industries. We already mentioned the fact that it's a commodity. People say my bank; they don't say my something else. It's a generic term. It's a highly regulated industry, and perhaps inrightly so, one of the most regulated industries, and that impacts how we market every single campaign. Disclosure language absolutely needs to be there. And also, banks need to have a presence in the ESG space, and they get audited for it every single year by not just one regulator either. I mean, there's 3 or 4 different regulatory pieces. Data privacy, super important. And in terms of servicing that market, we've had to invest very heavily in a bulletproof data platform so that we can transfer data safely, but also analyze it. And we get all the good stuff that nobody wants to have. I'm not even going to say how good it is because someone will try and hack us. Good luck. But it's there. And it's also an industry that's we're experiencing right now. Macroeconomic factors, brutal. All of a sudden, interest rates are 500 basis points higher than they were a year ago. And it's already caused bank failures, as we know. There's a lot of other banks that are going, holy crap, how, all of a sudden we're under all this pressure. We thought, interest rates would go up, we'd charge more for loans. Well, some loans adjust, a lot of loans don't. So being a banker for a long time has been a major competitive advantage for us because we actually have sat in liquidity meetings and we're still alive. So there's a lot more to it than just coming up with a clever slogan and finding the right person to send it to.
Absolutely. Well, that's great, and I think that it really probably has helped to build a brand for you as well, right? That with that kind of concentration and focus, that probably a lot of bank marketers, when they're thinking of connecting with an agency, they think of BKM. So, Bruce, you've been involved in omnichannel marketing for quite a long time. our listeners really are here to get some tips and advice from professionals like yourself. So what are your top 3 tips for marketers when they're thinking about an omnichannel campaign that includes direct mail and digital marketing together?
Oh, that in itself is a tip, Dennis. Use everything at your disposal. So,
I love it.
you know, some people, I mean, mail actually is, everyone keeps saying it's making a comeback. I don't think it ever went away if it was done well. It's always been doing a great job. But all of it starts with data. If you're going to integrate a message and try to get it in front of the right people at the right time, like we were just talking about, you have to come up with segments. And it's really interesting how there's so many different ways you can segment, in a lot of industries, age and income. Let's go after people who have money or they keep getting money. And we know that they're, 45. Okay. That's not really segmentation, because how do you know someone with money who's 45 needs what you have to offer? Better segmentation is, let's go after folks, simple example, who live in homes that have a 20-year-old roof, and we can find that out. And let's come up with a product that makes it like, who wants to buy a roof? No one wants to buy a roof. Someone comes to you and say, you need to spend $20,000 on a roof. It's like they go out to dinner and celebrate, right? No.
I happen to be roof shopping as we speak, and I'm not happy about it.
No. So you can, but hopefully there's, data that a roofing contractor or, manufacturer is using to find out that you need to have a new roof. Maybe it's an insurance claim. Maybe it's just the simple age of your house. And that's not easy to do necessarily, but that kind of segment that makes sense. Let's do our data homework rather than say, geez, Dennis makes money and he's, you're what, 37, 38 now?
In my dreams.
So that's not going to help. But you need to. So the other thing that's going to happen, getting to the integrated piece of it, though, is odds are you're saying, crap, we need a roof. I don't want to pay too much for my roof. So you're actually going to go and start looking for a roof. And you might find content out there that says, don't want to buy a roof? Read this. That'll get your attention. And you might download it. And then you'll say, geez, okay, I'm going to give him my email address. I don't want to get a whole bunch of stuff here, but maybe you'll even give your postal address. So we can better assess the needs of your current roof. It would be very helpful if we had an address. And roofing companies will actually take that address and then be able to look on Google Maps and do an estimate, and then have all these software programs. Geez. I mean, you probably have a 10,000 square foot roof, Dennis, right?
I have a house built in 1811, and so I've got a lot of roof that is very, very old.
Good. So, but they can give you an estimate based on that. So that's maybe, how much is this going to cost? So here's a segment that it's a very simple segment, but whatever business you're in, segment based on the need. Don't segment based on things that are easy to buy, because they're not going to get you where you need to go. We do a lot of lifestyle marketing. So we use Axiom products. We use Claritas Nielsen products to do modeling, so that we take a look at who your best customers are, come up with metrics that describe them in ways that you can action against, and also apply needs against. And then, so that's the best segment, and that's something everybody needs to do. The other piece of omnichannel is, not spending too much. It's very easy to spend too much if you're doing omnichannel. And the way to find out if you're spending too much is measurement. So very important to measure everything. Our perfect equation, we actually find, and we have great discussions with our media agency friends and partners, but we find that starting with postal data and then applying that into um, the internet spaces leads to more effective targeting. And this is assuming you need to create demand. So, another thing about direct mail is it can create demand based on your perceived need by putting a message that someone isn't searching for in front of them. But if you do the same thing with IP targeted banner ads, and what those are we can match your postal address to a residential router address. Doesn't work as well in B2B, although there's new technologies out that use device locations, handheld device locations to do that kind of targeting. But we can start serving banner ads at the same time we're going to be sending mail. So if we know mail is going to hit on a Monday, and you can target pretty accurately now when the piece is actually going to be delivered, we'll start serving banner ads to the household, right beforehand and right afterwards. And then when the mail comes, we're seeing lifts. We actually had one client that got an 88% lift versus mail only doing this type of timing. The other thing that you guys are so good at, and hopefully your listeners know how good you are at it, is triggered direct mail. And you can trigger it on many different ways. But once you've actually gone to the roofer's website, Dennis, and gave them your information, odds are you would want to see a piece of direct mail that's targeted against your need in your mailbox within 3 to 5 days. And there's a couple of companies that can do it. I only know one company that does it really well, and that's yours.
Well, thank you. Yeah. That is it's a key part of the story, and it's really compared to traditional direct mail, sort of shrinking that timeline, right, to deliver that highly personalized piece of mail, so that it's pretty close to whatever the event is that that ultimate trigger.
Mm-hmm. But this all takes planning. A real campaign. We always say, you need 8 weeks to get this done correctly. Sometimes you need more. But to really understand needs and apply a segmentation that makes sense. The other thing you like to do, and this gets a little more complicated, is using profitability-based segmentation as well. So once you've figured out your audience, which segment of that is actually going to make the most money for your company. And it's easy to get lost in the weeds and forget that. So I should point that out. And then,
absolutely,
I guess the last point when you're doing omnichannel marketing is you always want to be testing something. Because if you're not testing something, then odds are you are spending too much money over the long term. We get more excited about something that flops, so we know we don't do it again, than something that's a true winner, because I guess they're both. Maybe we get more excited about the winner. What am I talking about? But we get as excited about a flop because usually you can learn a lot from that.
That's awesome. One thing that comes to mind with those IP banner ads, at Postalytics and some of the other direct mail automation tools, we're actually capturing the IMB intelligent mail barcode data from the Postal Service, so that we're broadcasting out through our APIs and our integrations when every single piece of mail is going to be delivered within, say, a 24-hour window.
Right.
And so, that can be a triggering mechanism the other way, right? So that the mail and the delivery data can trigger those banner ads to start showing up with very precise timing. So there's a lot of ways that the data surrounding direct mail can be used in that omnichannel environment.
No, absolutely. And one of our more successful campaigns in the last couple of years, started with postal data, that was fed into a media platform, and using the IP addresses that were driving it, and mail was going at the same time. But it was the IP address banner ads that started the programmatic and lookalikes that became non-postal. So, my media friends would call it, "Oh, you mean traditional digital?" No, traditional is postal. But and it's so easy. But the one thing that I like about direct mail too is that it's perceived to be expensive, and it is, and that means you actually watch your dollars on direct mail a lot more so than you do on, we're going to get $5 for 4 million impressions. I think I'm exaggerating on both things, but because it's perceived to be lower value, it tends to be less productive because it's not watched as closely. People feel like they're they don't need to watch it as closely.
Awesome. Well, let's transition over to the sustainable marketing.
Okay.
So, Bruce, we discussed at the beginning that you've published a lot of material, and you've got a clear passion around the notion of sustainable marketing. And indeed, you've invested heavily in green in several different capacities. So tell us more about what got you interested there, and how can omnichannel marketers work to reduce the footprint of their campaigns?
It is such a huge question, and it's also a critical question we all have to answer. And the interest started when we started figuring out how many pieces of direct mail have we actually put out on the planet, and how many trees did that take. And the answer is no one really knows. I mean, we knew we've done hundreds of millions of direct mail pieces over the years. And so in 2020, we engaged a class of MBA students. This was during the pandemic. And it was a group from Suffolk University's business school. And we had 29 students in a few different countries, actually. Take a look at two problems. One, we wanted them to calculate our company's carbon footprint, and then we also wanted them to figure out, what is the marketing industry in general doing to our environment. And what I was expecting to see is, direct mail was absolutely horrible for the environment, and done improperly and with a lot of waste. Let's face it, we are cutting down trees. We're using all sorts of fossil fuels to get the trees cut, shipped to a place where they can be processed into paper, and then from there it goes to a printer to be printed, and off into a separate mail house from there, and then trucked someplace to a postal facility, and then it gets in all these smaller trucks, and then so on. There's a lot of stuff going on there. This group looked really hard at that, and then they also looked at the impact of digital marketing, and that's where the eye opener was. 4% of what they we'll just call them greenhouse gas emissions stem to marketing, and it's getting worse because of the increased use of video and the amount of server space that requires, both where it's being served from, people keeping it on their own devices, sharing it through email, and some of the statistics were really eye-opening, and as best we can calculate them, Europe is light years ahead of other continents, shall we say, other political entities, in terms of trying to address, the impact of climate change and measuring it. But there's a bunch of studies that came out of there, and we could go on and on about this. But just for perspective, a piece of direct mail, all in, and this is a big piece of direct mail, not a postcard. This is a piece of direct mail with maybe 4 pieces of paper inside it. So think of like a fundraising piece of direct mail. Contributes about 20 grams of CO2 into the environment. So one piece. That's a lot. But a spam email, which is sent out much in just volume so high you can't even calculate it, is 0.3 grams. A regular email, 4 grams. An email with an attached photo, 50 grams. And the volume of just these emails is no one knows. I mean, it's impossible to actually count how many of those are out there. So then you start looking at digital display and all that kind of stuff, and you say, holy crap! Forget what channel we're talking about. How are marketers actually going to change their mindset about how we do better messaging? And it gets back to data again. We talked about the low cost of digital marketing, or at least perceived low cost. It's absolutely the worst part of everything we do for the environment, and a lot of that is because it has a whole bunch of waste. We have 50,000 email addresses. Let's use them all. Again, getting back to segmentation. That's the best thing we can do as marketers. But the other thing we can do is really start measuring the impact of every single program. We measure the cost of a program. Let's measure the amount of carbon it takes to do a program, and then compare that to some form of offsetting it or reducing that carbon. So it's the ROI calculation for carbon. There's carbon calculators out there that require a lot of assumptions, but we do it. We did it. We figured out our programs on average generate around 2,000 tons of carbon a month. And I'm pretty confident with that. Right now, we are offsetting that at no cost to clients. We just take a portion of our profits, and for digital, we use a calculator that takes into account if we do air travel, if we do whatever we do, and in terms of the amount of digital impressions we create, we have a formula that we offset through TerraPass. And for direct mail, we've partnered with a company called One Tree Planted. It's an organization, not a company. It's based in Vermont. It has grown globally, but for every 1,000 pieces of direct mail we actually plant a tree. And don't ask me how many pieces of direct mail fit in a tree. The answer is it depends on the size of the tree. So you just have to assume. But having gone through this with some folks that understand the science of this, we feel like we have achieved net zero and then some by doing that.
Very cool. Very cool.
The obvious thing here too is like mail uses paper. Why don't we, just insist on using recycled paper? So when we started this in 2020, this inconvenient thing called the pandemic was here, and supply chain issues, for paper in particular, were brutal. The cost of paper, went up 4x at one point versus pre-pandemic time. It's settled down a little bit, but creating recycled stock, still that market has not caught up, and we have not been able to make it financially attractive. I mean, maybe you found other ways, Dennis, I don't know. But in terms of our supply chain, we have not been able to figure out a way to make it financially attractive for clients to still use the benefits of direct mail, which aren't perfect, but neither is digital, and go from there.
Yeah. I think that the takeaway is there is no perfect solution, right? Like we're going to have a footprint of some kind, but really, I think it's so interesting. You talk about the data, and so the idea of kind of triggered, direct, rifle shot marketing as opposed to spray and pray, whether it's email, whether it's direct mail, or anything else. That's such an important evolution in how we think about
huge economic and environmental impact.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Great. Well, Bruce, as we wrap up here, if we have listeners that want to get in touch, want to learn more about BKM, your thoughts on sustainable marketing, how would our listeners get in touch with you?
Best way is send me a letter. No. The best way to get in touch with us and learn more about how we approach integrated omni-channel marketing is to visit us at bkmmarketing.com. If you're interested in more detail about our study regarding sustainable marketing, we've actually started putting together a subsite called netzeronow.marketing. And that's actually a piece on our BKM site. You can get there the same way. But that's where we actually track our own carbon and offsets that we're creating. But hopefully that'll become a community one of these days when we have time to build that out. It's important.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Bruce McMeekin, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to have you on today, Direct Mail Automation School. I think you've got some amazing things going on as a practice, and I'm going to check out netzero.marketing. It sounds like a great site, and appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoyed our get together today.
It's a pleasure to be here, and congratulations on all you've done for the industry in a smart way.
Well, thank you very much.